Hello, humans, and welcome to another episode of the Cartridge and Disc Podcast. This is your Gen X Gamer here. Let's talk about the PlayStation 3. That's right. The PlayStation 3, guys, it's almost 17 years now. Almost 17 years. Let's remember the launch. First of all, let's talk about that E3. That famous E3 that produced so many memes. And it was just considered a disaster back in the day. They did turn it around, but, you know, I remember one of the things that I remember the most about the PlayStation before it launched was that boomerang controller that we never got. What happened to the boomerang? They should put that out, you know, at some point, just like as a collector's item or something like that. I think that would blow out. It would do better than the PlayStation Mini. That's for sure. But yeah, that's something that I always remember. You know, it's that controller, and I remember that launch, and it was so memorable because the price, right? $600. It was, it was just incredible, guys. I mean, the what it took for Sony to think that they could do something like that really came off the heels of the success of the PlayStation 2 and how well it did. But before continuing, let me remind you that I put a link in my community post because you can actually watch this E3 presentation in high definition, right? And this comes via NoClip, the channel. You can go there and there's a link to their video project. And let me tell you, these guys are doing great work because they are preserving a lot of the history of video games. Not the video games themselves, but a lot of the videos that were shot in tape. They're translating to digital a lot of the videos that were shot for, you know, like those old websites. Yeah, and that's going to take something, man. They really need your support out there. But let's go back to the PlayStation 3 here and remember that they had that Play Beyond stuff and all that. Everybody was excited for the console, just not excited for the price. And, you know, I still have the big one. That's what I have. When I got it, I traded a bunch of my games in order to get it for my son. I went back in time and I looked at it, guys. The stuff that I traded, if I still had it today, and some of it I got back, but if I go back in time and I look at everything that I traded in for that, I'd be looking at about $3,500 worth of stuff that I traded in if I would have kept it, right? So that was probably the most expensive console that I've ever bought. In addition, I think I have, in addition to everything I traded, I paid like $125 in order to get it. Anyway, guys, let's remember the lineup. Right, the lineup was really good, and I'll tell you the one that I got. But they had Call of Duty 3, right? They had Genji, Days of the Blade, Madden 07, Marvel Ultimate Alliance, Mobile Suit Gundam Crossfire. They had NBA 2K7 and NBA 07, Need for Speed Carbon, NHL 2K7. Resistance Fall of Man. That's the one that I bought, that I played, and I loved it. They had Ridge Racer 7, Tiger PGA Tour 07, Tony Hawk's Project 8, and Untold Legends Dark Kingdom. Those are the ones. Eventually, I did play the Tiger Woods title, and I have Genji Days of the Blade. I have Call of Duty 3. It was a decent lineup. It was a decent lineup, but to say that it was a complete success, no. That's why the Xbox 360 did so well. Lower price point, great games, online play, and it didn't really change until the Slim. The Slim, when they slimmed it down, it got more popular when they took off all the other stuff, all the bells and whistles. I mean, I do have the one that is backwards compatible. And that's something I have the 80. I have two 80 gigabits is what I have. And too bad that Sony backed away from that, because they're the ones who really started, by putting in hardware that would play their older systems. In this case, the PS1 and the PS2. And that was great, man. That was something that's really great about the console. Being able to play our old games on that system was just cool. Because at any point you can just pick up an older game, pop it in. If you had a great deal, whether it's a PS2, PS1, you could just grab it and play it. That's what made the console so versatile. It wasn't worth $600, but that's the short-sightedness at the company at that time. But nowadays, guys, it's one of my favorite systems to collect for. One thing I have to say that a lot of people, don't realize, but technology-wise, it was probably the biggest leap from one generation to another. If you really think about it, that's why, the 7th gen lasted so long. It lasted about 10 years. It really did. And what we had before in the PlayStation 2, was great, but it didn't compare what they could do with the PlayStation 3, even though developers, when it first came out, they were complaining that it was harder to develop for, this and that and the other. But out of all that chaos, we got so many great titles, guys. So many great titles that people still, remember and play to this day. As a matter of fact, this console was so versatile that I was playing Persona 5 on it. The first run of Persona 5 that I did, I played on the PS3. I have the copy of Persona 5 for the PS3. So, it lasted well into its later years. And let me tell you, to me, it's one of the legendary consoles. There's so many games that you can point to and say, I played this game, I played that game. There's so many gamers today. There's so many people today that were influenced by this console, that this was their first console. And if this was your first console, what a great place to start. Because you could start from a place where not only, you were enjoying games of that generation, but you could go back in time. You could go back in time and enjoy games from, the first generation of PlayStations, the second generation of PlayStation 1, PlayStation 2. But the technology that the PlayStation 3 brought on was just leaps and bounds and above everything else that had happened before it. And you can say that about the Xbox 360 also, but the 7th generation brought in just a whole new set of technologies that we still embrace today. It's nice to take a look back and remember, what is your favorite PlayStation 3 memory? Man, there's so many, where can you begin? But I remember getting it that day and playing Resistance Fall of Man was one of the highlights for me. All right, guys, I will catch you on the next one. Thank you so much for subscribing. Thank you so much for the likes. If you can, please support the channel. Subscribe, hit that like button, and if you really can, then go ahead and join. Thank you so much. Take care.